I'm not a lawyer, but it was day 6 of the YSL RICO trial, and let me tell you how most of the day was spent on a person that isn't even a part of this case anymore. This is the day 6 recap. The first 2 witnesses of the day testified about the incident involving Quamarius Nichols that was included in yesterday's recap. And then we got into some overt acts that involved Durante Beebe. But what you should know is that Durante Beebe accepted a plea deal about 1 month ago. Joseph Papp's article in the AJC details that Beebe, who is now 23 years old, pled guilty to violating the RICO Act, theft by receiving stolen property, 2 counts of violating the Georgia Controlled Substances Act, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, participation in a criminal street gang, robbery by force, and hijacking a motor vehicle. He was sentenced to 5 years in jail and 10 years probation. That was early November. So fast forward to today, the state called Officer Sherrod Stansel to the stand to testify about Overt Act 100, which says that Durante Beebe, an associate of YSL, had possession of cocaine. Officer Stansel says he was in the Cleveland Avenue area and a group of males saw his police car and ran inside a gas station.
Observed a group of males quickly flee into a gas station upon seeing our patrol car. We stopped and made entry into the gas station. 2 of the males came outside with us. I believe Mr. Ford self-reported having a small amount of marijuana. He was detained without incident. The other male was free to move about, go about. He had nothing on him, so he just sat there. Mr. Beebe, I observed he was not there. He actually was still inside the room. I went in there to speak with him and get him to come out. Upon him coming out, he was sat down, and then I went back into the room. I discovered a small baggie containing half a gram of crack cocaine. Talked to the store clerk and see if we could view surveillance footage of that store, of that room, to see if they had a camera back there. Mr. Beebe was formally arrested. He was formally arrested for possession of crack cocaine. We had seen him take the crack out of his boot and discard it in the area where it was located.
Keith Adams, co-counsel for Young Thug, did the cross-examination, and you'll notice he's again highlighting that the officer never noted or made mention of any kind of gang affiliation with this crime.
And you remember the incident, you remember Mr. Beebe?
Yes, sir.
All right, you don't see him here, right? He's not in here?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay. That's the only thing you charged him with, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You didn't have any reason to, and you certainly did not believe there's anything to charge him with other than being in possession of a rock of crack cocaine, right?
I charged him accordingly based on the facts of the case. Yes, sir.
All right, according to the facts of the case.
Yes,
so
sir.
what you're testifying to is exactly what happened that day, and everything was involved on that day, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You didn't charge him on the gang crime, did you?
No, sir.
No basis to it?
No, sir.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you, Judge.
Following Officer Stansel was another officer with the Atlanta Police Department. This officer's name is Officer Applewaith, and he testified about Overt Act 104 through 108, which stems from a May 2020 undercover drug deal with, again, Durante Beebe.
They asked me to go undercover, try to buy some drugs. I walked in. As I walked in, there was a male who was wearing white pants, white shoes, with a blue jeans jacket. He was standing somewhat in the doorway. I walked in, and I just asked him, "Hey man, you got some smokes?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "How much you want?" I said, "I got a 20. He reached in his pocket, pulled some weed out, wrapped it up into a lottery ticket. I paid him the 20. He said, "Hey man, here's my phone number." I got his phone number, and I left. Once I got back into my car, I left the location to update the takedown units of the sale, give them a description of the mill that I bought the weed from, and just proceed to the next location.
Keith Adams does the cross-examination.
You ever heard the term weed man?
Say again?
Weed man.
Weed man?
Yeah. I mean, you know how sometimes folks, I don't know, college kids, regular kids, adults, young folks go looking for the weed man to go buy some weed?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? You heard that term before.
I've heard.
There is such a thing called a weed man, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes it's one man. Sometimes it could be a woman. It could be a weed woman, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you approach him, and you ask him if you got anything.
Right.
You were looking to buy some weed.
Correct.
And lo and behold, you bucked up on the weed man and you got $20 worth of weed, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you get your $20 worth of weed from the weed man and you're out of there. Okay. But what has just taken place is you just bought 20 bucks of weed from this kid, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that appears to be the long and short of it. You left out of there. Your job for the day, at least at that point, that location was done.
Correct.
$20 weed sale.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, the next witness I'm going to highlight is Officer Hawkins. I can't pronounce her actual last name, but she mentioned Hawkins is her previous last name, so I'm going to go with that. Officer Hawkins was the lead investigator on the undercover drug deal. Once she arrived on scene, here's what she says was found.
So there was 13 grams of marijuana in a clear baggie that was found inside the vehicle, the passenger seat, as well as a marked $20 bill that the undercover officer initially had, and that was used during that sale of that 1 gram of marijuana. There was a small backpack, a multicolored backpack. It was on the center console, front center console, and there was additional marijuana found inside that backpack. There was also a firearm recovered from him. The firearm came back as stolen.
Max Shard does some cross-examination, and he brings up that multiple people were arrested at the same time as Durante Beebe, and yet there was no mention of any gang affiliation with any of those arrests.
My understanding is Mr. Beebe is not the only individual that was arrested at 151 Cleveland Avenue that afternoon or evening.
Correct.
Okay. Also arrested was Chastity Williams for drugs.
Correct.
Shaquille Scott was also arrested for drugs, including possession with intent to distribute drugs, correct? Antonio Johnson was also arrested for drugs. Sequavius Martin was also arrested at the scene, correct?
Correct.
For drugs.
Correct.
Curtis Barber, he was also arrested for drugs, a firearm, and for possession with intent drugs.
Correct.
Were any of those individuals, or Durante Beebe, were any of those individuals charged with Gang Act violations?
That I do not know.
Well, did you charge him with Gang Act violations?
I did not.
Okay.
There was one more witness, but y'all ain't missing nothing. Also, let me just say, if the state is going to be spending their time calling witnesses to testify about $20 weed deals from 3 years ago, we are going to be here until 2030.